We got a television when I was probably about 6 years old, and there weren't many channels and things to watch then. Sometimes we wanted to watch different shows, so we would fight over who was going to get what show. And as I said, he's 4.5 years older than me. Well, he would win the fight, position me so that I could watch TV too, and then he would stand on my hands so that I couldn't change the channel. Yeah. Now, this is no common sense as far as I'm concerned. While he was in college, and I believe he was extremely intoxicated evidently, him and a bunch of his friends were near the Lone Star Marina, and he decided he was going to walk over to, this was winter, and we had a very cold winter. It was thick ice. I have no idea how thick, but it was very thick ice. And he decided that he was going to walk over to the road that came up to the dam. This was, I don't know how far it is, 100 yards, 200 yards, I don't know, long ways across there. And it had been warm for several days. He did walk across there, hearing it cracking under his feet as he went. Yes. Luckily, he made it. The next day we went up because I thought, you walked across that? You could see his footprints in the slush. And I mean, his footprints must have been, a good 3/4 of an inch deep. Clear across it. And I don't know how far it is. But it's a goodly distance from one side of the lake to the other, and it's naturally deep there if you would have gone through. So I felt I was very lucky to still have a brother. Well, just a couple of weeks ago, he and I, Rex, this was very shocking to lose Rex. Just a couple of weeks ago, Rex and I went to our uncle's funeral in McPherson, and on the way, we went through Emporia. And we went through Emporia. Alexi lives in Emporia. And we had some extra time. And I said, hey, take me and show me his house. So we pulled off at Emporia and we went and we saw Alexi's house and everything. And it is a cool house. It is truly a cool house. And Rex was just oozing with pride for Alexi and the house. Rex, of course, saw the house first and talked to Lexi into it. But it is truly, truly a fantastic house. But he is so, so proud of Lexi. And when our mother got sick and everything, and we had to put her in the rest home, we talked a lot. We talked quite frequently. And even though everybody says we're totally different, we agreed on all of the decisions for mother's care and everything. Rex frequently traveled, but he always kept me informed of where he was going in case I needed to get a hold of him for an emergency for either Dad or Mother. So that was nice. In fact, I'd go down and see Dad, and he'd say, well, where's Rex today? Well, he's in Colorado. No, he's in Arizona. Rex was always gone somewhere. People that know both me and Rex say that we are basically night and day in personalities. And either they don't believe us when we say we're brother and sister, or they simply never, ever believe us. We've got some of those. Yeah, we're very, very different, but I love my little brother. Yeah, there I did it again. My little brother. He's my only brother, and he is taller than me. He is not smaller than me by any means, but I always tended to call him my little brother. Don't know why. Maybe because he always called me when he had a problem, and I got to help solve it. I don't know. But I feel very privileged that I had him as a brother and everything. And thank you all very much for coming out. He would have been very impressed. And proud. Thank you.
Hello.
Get the middle one.
Hello. Hi. I just wanted to say, I guess I feel a responsibility as the oldest son to get up here. Maybe many of you are expecting me to. That I can't tell you who my dad was, and I can't tell you who he was to himself. Only he could do that, and he's not here to do that anymore. And not particularly needing to tell you who he was to me, and I couldn't even begin to do that. And I'm sure that's true for a lot of us in the room, and I just know that all of us have come here today remembering him and who he was to each of us. And so I'm sort of at a loss to do any of that. But I wanted to say that I know many people were trying to get a hold of me to shake hands or give me a hug before all of this started, and I was kind of tripping over you and so on. We had a technical problem with the slide show that Maria Elise spent the last couple of days putting together, and I apologize for that, and I'd be happy to shake hands and hug any of you who I know, any of you who I don't know, and I just wanted to say sorry for not being there for you earlier. I don't know, I get people ask me how I'm doing, and you know, as best as can be and as worst as can be under the conditions, I guess is the simple answer to that. So no, you don't have to ask me that. I guess if I have any thoughts, you know, one to share about this family or about him, you know, we are painfully aware of our mortality, and the Powell family that I grew up in, probably from an early age before we almost can remember. And so I can say for myself, I'm not dealing with the surprise of mortality, either as applied to my dad or to me. And it really comes down more to like the profound loss, the loss to all of us, to him. You know, he and I had a conversation in December, and we decided that if he died anytime in the next 10 years, it was going to be a total disaster, because he had so many irons in the fire, so many things that we just needed him to be here for. That's the way we just knew he had to live 10 more years, and there was no reason why he wouldn't, right? Got the genetics, you know, presumably, everything else, the health, and so on. And he figured, well, 20 more years of good living, for sure, right? And maybe live forever after that, you know, even if in a semi-vegetative state over in the corner, but he'd be sure to be really, really happy about that at any level. And so really it's the loss. I mean, that's the thing that I feel the most, is being deprived, him and all of us, of another 10 to 15 to 20 plus years. My daughter, 15 years old, way too young to lose her grandpa. Maria Elise, I think about more than anything else, really should have had a lot more time with my dad. He loved her so much, and I don't know how we're gonna compensate for that. But I hope everybody here who knows us and knows her will do everything that we can to support her. So, thank you.
Gomez? No. You say no? Shows you like.
I don't really have much prepared. I think it's fair to say that I was closest to my grandpa than any other member of my immediate family. He was definitely a really big influence on me in the way that I think, and I think more than anybody else, he was able to inspire just a genuine fascination with the universe that we are part of. And that's all I'd like to say. Thank you very much.
I'm Rex's Aunt Nell.
Yeah.
And, pardon me?
You got a yodel?
Oh, no. No, indeed, I'm not going to yodel. I do not sing at all anymore, if you can believe that or not. Because I used to sit at the piano, Shirley did all the work, and I did all the singing. So, anyway, but I wanted to tell you something about Rex that I bet you not any of you know. Well, maybe some of the kids know. When he was little, I was 8 years old when Rex was born. And him and Wayne and Arita would go to the movies, show on Saturday night, and they would drop Rex off at our house, my mother's and I house, and we would keep him until they came back from the movie. Well, we had a divan. I guess they call them sofas now, but they were a divan back then. And so he would come in and he would sit down on that, when it got bedtime, he would sit down on that divan and he would scoot back on it because he was little, and his legs came just about to the edge of the divan. So he would put his hands together like this. He would sit down on the divan, spread his legs out about so far, and he would hit his head on the back of the divan and bounce forward, hit it on the front of the divan, and back and forth and back and forth. And he did that for hours at a time. And he did not outgrow that for quite some time. Because I think when he lived up home, I think they finally had to get rid of his bed because he would put his hands like this and go like this on the bed. And I think it ruined the bed, and they had to get rid of that. So that's all I can tell you about Rex. Rex was a good kid. Of course, I wasn't much older than he was, but nonetheless, Rex was different from the day he was born until the day he died. And there will never, ever be another Rex.
That's true. That's true.
I'm Marilyn Brune, and I am, Rex's grandma and my grandma were twins, so we're cousins. But we didn't really know each other much growing up. We didn't, hang out. But I got to know him more recently. Went to a great party at his house about, some years ago. And then I met up with him again at Douglas County Dems phone banking for the last election. And by golly, we got that one done. And I just wanted to say that we started kind of reacquainting, and I'm really sorry because we were planning to get together again and again, of course, and look at old pictures and talk about family and talk about stuff that he was interested in. He recommended a book to me, and I read it and never really got to talk about it with him very much. So all I can say is he's loved, obviously. He'll be missed a lot. And raise a glass to him. He's a good guy.